Hi! Welcome to this part of my guide and review featuring the Mythic Game Master Emulator, 2nd edition. If you haven't seen part 1, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to talk about fate questions, the chaos factor, random events, and scenes. To use the Mythic Game Master Emulator, you only need a D100, that is, 2 10-sided dice. You will also need a D4, a D6, and a D8, depending on the lists that you are using. And this book contains all of the forms and sheets that you could need during a session. But if you are using just a few tables and handling things quite minimalistic or simplified, you won't need any forms either. Now let's talk about fate questions. They are the core of Mythic, the mechanism through which the adventure moves forward. The idea behind fate questions is that you can ask Mythic anything, posed as a yes or no question. Is the room occupied? Does the alien attack? Do I find any ammunition after searching the house? Is the treasure chest locked? Does the wizard cast a spell? When you ask a fate question, you decide on the odds of the answer. By the way, if you haven't seen it yet, I recently uploaded a part in my session report of the solo campaign featuring From the Ashes. In that video, I used the Mythic Game Master Emulator to emulate a player character. The link to that video will appear on screen. I recommend that you watch it because it proves that the Mythic Game Master Emulator is perfect to emulate player characters as well. Now continuing with fate questions. When you ask a fate question, you decide on the odds that the answer will be yes based on your impression of the adventure so far, or the context. Mythic uses common language for odds to make them as intuitive as possible, such as likely, 50-50, or nearly certain. Once you have your question and your odds, you consult the fate chart to get the percentage chance of a yes answer. Then you roll a d100. If you roll that percentage or less, then the answer is yes. If you roll above it, then the answer is no. Rolling very low or very high will give you exceptional yes or exceptional no, respectively. Once you have your answer, you interpret it in the context of the current adventure and keep on playing. With each question having 4 possible answers, the narrative of your adventure will shift slightly with every question you ask, and the answers you receive and how you interpret them will shape the context. This process of questions, answer, interpretation builds on itself. Every new question adds context and sends the adventure in that direction, leading to the next question which does the same, and so on. In this way, fate questions construct your adventure as you play. The further along you get, the more naturally the process flows. Now, when it comes to the chaos factor, a good game master knows when to ramp up the tension and when to ease off and let the players catch their breath. This ebb and flow of action is a crucial part of any adventure, and it rarely stays the same throughout. The chaos factor is Mythic's way of simulating this changing tempo. It uses a value between 1 and 9 to measure how much control the player character has over the action. The higher the value, the more Mythic generates active elements such as a random event, unexpected scenes, and yes answers to fate questions. Now let's take a moment to talk about the changes between the 1st edition and 2nd edition of the Mythic Game Master Emulator. Concerning the fate chart, odds have been slightly simplified, and some of their titles changed to hopefully give a more intuitive feel for deciding odds as you play. When it comes to the fate check, this mechanic was brought in from Mythic variations too. It has been refined to make it feel more like the fate chart. The focus table has a new addition to it: current context. The D100 roll values have also been slightly rebalanced. Mythic Game Master Emulator 2nd edition gives more power to player choices. You'll find rules pertaining to choices throughout the book. For instance, choosing an event focus instead of rolling is an option. There is more direction in how to handle lists in a defined way. Lists are also weighted, with elements able to appear more than once on a list. This makes threats and character lists more dynamic. Some of the words in the action and description meaning tables have been changed to make their meaning more clear. In addition to the action and description meaning tables, there are 45 elements meaning tables that are more specifically themed. This gives you the option to choose a meaning table that is most relevant to the current context. You can see an example of this in my recent From the Ashes video that I mentioned. There are a lot of options throughout 2nd edition, more ways for you to customize your Mythic experience. These run a wide gamut, from choosing how you want to start and end scenes, to mechanics like keyed scenes to guide your adventure. Referred to as complex questions in Mythic variations, discovering meaning is about generating adventure details by rolling on a meaning table. This takes on greater significance in 2nd edition with the wider range of meaning tables. And these are all of the changes between editions. Now let's talk about random events. Mythic will periodically interject new elements at random. These random events allow Mythic to add surprises and plot twists that aren't based in your expectations, guaranteeing that you'll never know for sure what's going to happen next. Random events can occur when you ask a fate question or when you start a new scene. They are generated using the event focus table and the meaning tables. The event focus tells you which aspect of the adventure the random event involves, while the meaning tables give you a pair of words meant to inspire an interpretation of what the random event is. If the event focus table gives you player character positive, and the meaning tables give you the words attainment and travel, you might interpret these words to mean that your post-apocalyptic player character has found a working vehicle, or that your high fantasy player character has found a possible means of escaping the dungeon they are trapped in. When it comes to scenes, to keep your unfolding adventure within a structured narrative, Mythic divides the action into scenes. What constitutes a scene is up to you. But just like in a movie, a scene should be a discrete portion of your adventure that encapsulates an important moment or event. A warrior searching through a cave system and battling lizardmen, or a space traveler walking through a market and buying supplies for his ship, can both be a scene. When the important action in that scene is over, the scene ends and we move on to the next scene. The end of a scene is when bookkeeping takes place, updating the threads and characters lists, and adjusting the chaos factor. Now, on a basic level, the Mythic adventure elements are fate questions, the chaos factor, random events, scenes, lists, meaning, expectations and interpretation, and your chosen RPG. That's all there is to it. This concludes this part of the review. In the next part, we are going to talk about lists, meaning, expectations, and interpretations. So fundamentally, Mythic is quite simple to understand. You ask a question. If it's a yes or no question, you use the fate chart. If it's a more complex question, you are asking for a specific answer, then you could use one or more meanings tables. All of this is overseen by the chaos factor. And don't worry, we will take a closer look into all of this in future parts of this review. Thank you for watching this part of the review and guide. And thank you for your likes and your comments. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.